Mics are live. It is 5:33 PM. I am calling the Ross Township Board Budget Public Hearing to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, you may proceed with the roll call.
Supervisor Hutchings.
Here.
Clerk Stage here. Treasurer Wiersma.
Here.
Trustee Langshaw. Trustee Beeks. Trustee Harmon, absent with cause. Trustee White.
Here.
Rob Thal is not present.
Thank you. Moving into the approval of the agenda, I'd be seeking a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are moving into citizen comment at 5:34 PM. Please speak up. The meeting is being recorded for YouTube. We would appreciate if you clearly state and spell your last name for the minutes. This is a public hearing. Comments are strictly limited to 3 minutes. Citizen comment is designed for one-way commentary to address the board. All citizens providing comments should address their remarks to the supervisor, board chair, who may respond to provide brief factual information. Board members will refrain from speaking during citizen comment. If citizens need specific assistance, please contact Ross Township during business hours for additional guidance or information. Public comment is now open. There being no interest in public comments, public comment is now closed. 5:35 PM. We are now moving into the new business portion of tonight's public hearing for our budget, the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. And I will turn this over to the clerk and the treasurer, Mary Sage, and Amanda Wiersma. You may proceed.
In front of you today, what we've been discussing over the last 2 months, and this is the final product according to our last meeting. So it details out what everything would be going up, and how much it's rising. So the proposed budget is the second to last column, and the percentage of increase is along the last column. And this is based on what we have spent in the previous year. And also, we should note that the budget for the fire department has been put in there according to what was approved for that. And then the differences in the park budget, according to what Christina had recommended at the last budget meeting. And there will be some additional changes that, I'll just say, we're going to add a couple more accounting GL codes to better sort out different price, different expenses, so,
So you got a finer look at everything.
yes,
Yeah.
right, identified, right, exactly. So, I don't know, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything to
Apologize
add.
to the board that, of course, you know I wasn't involved in. I did see one email that somebody wanted to discuss, I think it was you, on salaries.
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask the board, was there any other area that needed a lot of, or more attention at this meeting, other than the salaries from Todd?
The only thing that, and I was going to talk to Chief about this, but he's not here, is that he has some items that he needs to purchase for the new vehicle. And I just started getting those bills in, but they're net 30, so they could actually be carried into our new fiscal year instead of having to be put on this budget, which you know, so his equipment could possibly go down, which would be a savings in our expense this year,
Only at the expense of putting it into this year,
putting it into next year,
putting it into next year. Okay, you're talking about putting it into the 2025,
2020, 25. So that might be a change that,
Okay. I mean, I can understand that, because you either pay now or pay in a month or so, right? Okay.
And I know I owe you mileage. Your conversation just
mileage.
told me I owe you mileage, so I will make sure I get that into you.
Other than salaries, was there any other area that we think we need to zero in on?
No, I think Lynn, Amanda, and Mary did a great job with the budget. We had a lot of transparency with it being here on the big screen, a lot of good dialogue. This has been probably one of the most promising budget years, I think. They're new, but I mean, we've had some pretty rough budget years. So this is, we're getting like
Right.
a fine-toothed machine. So I'm excited about that.
All right, and then as Mary blows it out even more, we'll be able
Yep.
to see where we may have to do amendments. We know we can do amendments almost every month.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think we're supposed to do amendments quarterly. Isn't that what we
Right.
decided? So quarterly,
and we did that this year. We
Right.
did our amendments.
Yep.
You guys had a budget in front of you every quarter, and now you'll be getting a revenue and expense sheet every meeting.
Yep.
But every quarter, you'll have the budget in front of you so we can do the amendments.
okay. All right, well, why don't we talk salaries, and then,
absolutely.
I just had, after it was presented, I think you presented, you gave us several sheets you handed out. and
Yep.
5%. I've done a little research on it, and that number just stood out to me. I know anytime I've ever been involved with anything, the industry standard has always been usually 2.5% to 3%. I say the industry, I've never been involved in this industry, so, but usually across the board, that's what's expected, and you even made mention of that, so, and, that was good information that you passed out. I did a little breakdown on those numbers, and I tried to compare with townships around the area. There's 9 of them here I had listed. And I did it by hours of operation is how I did it. So however many hours a week that township was open. And Ross came in at an hourly rate of $34.17, and it was in the top third of these 9. So, personally, I just wanted to share that, I don't know how anyone else feels, but when, a government entity or whatever, elected officials vote themselves raises, it usually doesn't set well with the public. And I'm not comfortable with that. I feel like it's a little steep. I just want to share my opinion with that. I don't know. I look at this as I'm not doing this for the money. I don't know, where anyone else stands. I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but, I'm here to represent the community, try to better the community, and I could care less about the money aspect of it. And I just think we should be responsible and stick around the 3% range, and hopefully not have to dip into that rainy day fund, because that would look really bad, I think, on our part if we had to, knowing that we might receive backlash for that 5%. And that's pretty much the gist of what I had to share, so.
I have a question.
I'll go ahead.
Are you including just the township board, or are you including anybody that got an increase?
I think there should be no more than 3% across everything.
Okay, that was my question.
Well, from my perspective, and I have not, again, been involved in the salary discussions before, but starting about 4 years ago, I was under the impression, and we did this, we matched the COLA for Social Security. And 2 years ago, when it was 8%, and again, I was not involved in it, but the 3% held at that point. And that automatically put everybody here 5% back, from just staying with the COLA. Last year, we voted on a 5% bonus to make up for that. You know, I mean, it was kind of like a makeup, just making people as whole as they can. And then we found out after it was paid that that was not
Permissible.
permissible, and so everybody had to pay it back. So everybody paid their 5% back. So this year, the COLA, and last year we matched the COLA, I think it was like 3.2%. This year, the COLA was 2.5%. So by moving to the 2.5 in addition to the 5, I think that's still a small step to try and catch up from when the salary adjustments were only like 30 to 35% of the inflation rate back in, I know it was post-pandemic, but I think it was 2023.
2022.
2022. And so in this case, I can support going to the 5%, which is above the 2.5, because we still have the same people, the same roles per se. And then starting next year, go back to where we try to be, in my opinion anyways, at the COLA, whichever it is. I mean, if the COLA is 4%, it's 4. If it becomes 2%, then it would be 2. But at least that would be the starting point. So I can support the 5% for this year.
So I just want to thank Trustee White for doing the homework. So thank you for bringing this up. This is valued, and I appreciate when anybody comes to the table and says our stakeholders and our residents expect us to behave this way, because I think we all should be having those conversations with us within our board. However, I do agree with Trustee Beeks, and because I was one that set out on this mission, it was because I belong to 5 different boards representing this township. I don't do it because of the money, like you said. The only one I do get compensated for would be Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority, and I do get a $50 stipend for attending Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority. I have no say over that. It's what the authority has chosen. But should we have gone to rest only on the COLA standard, then our raises in 2021 should have been 5.9%. In 2022, our raises should have been 8.7%. In 2023, our raises should have been 3.2%. And in 2024, our raises should have been 2.5%. And so I want to say, as a board, this information is from the Social Security Administration, is a public document. I did not enter into the 5% recommendation lightly. I did average them to 5%. I did come up with an average. And then I went over into the world of Social Security income and what they do for federal payments. And I just want to bring that forward as well. 2021, it was an increase of 1.3%. 2022, again, 5.9%. 2023, 8.7%. 2024, 3.2%. 2025, 2.5%. And so while I agree with you, I think people could say, whoa, 5% is different. It's a variation from the 3% that we normally give. However, when you look at what the industry standard has been for COLA, if we truly agreed at this board to track with COLA, we're behind. And so I offer this. I will make copies. If you'd like to look at it right now, I offer it to the clerk to go. That's my only copy, so I'm going to ask you for a copy back. But that should go with our board. So I just wanted to reiterate where I got the information from. And again, thank Trustee White for the work, and to be mindful that we all should be working on behalf of constituents, and that's always a good reminder. So thank you.
Where do we go from there? We take that conversation into consideration with our vote on passing the budget?
Well, so what we do here is we talk about the budget. So perhaps Trustee White has some more things that he wants to talk about. I welcome that. We all should be talking about the budget. Once the budget hearing is closed at 6 o'clock, we move into our regular township board meeting, and then we have resolutions. We move into the next agenda where we will be approving the resolutions that go with the salaries. And then we do that always by roll call vote, and then that is where the clerk will take the roll call vote. So this is good conversation. We do have some guests that are here. We need to continue the dialogue, and continue to have these discussions.
One clarification I'd like to make that was in our packets, where I list everybody and what their salary payment would be. For people that serve on the boards, like the PC and the Z, those are per meeting. So they're not getting that as an hourly rate. And then, for the deputies and the office manager, those are an hourly rate. And then there's an hourly rate here for Diana when she attends county meetings. So I didn't have that on there, and I realized it after I had already sent it to Christine and it was out there. So I just thought I'd clarify for everybody here that that's how that is.
No, we're just gonna hang out here and let, well, I don't wanna close down this discussion in case people wanna continue to talk.
I have one question.
Sure.
There's so many line items here, it's hard to find it. You go cross-eyed after a while. Amanda, maybe you can ask, because I know you were part of that discussion with the park passes. What did I'm trying to remember what it was, and
We left the daily passes as was, and we increased the annual pass.
Annual,
By, I wanna say, $30 to residents from 25.
Okay.
And then we went from 40 to 50 for out of township residents.
okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't write that down. That's good refresher.
For annual, it was 25. Increased to 30.
Make sure you're talking into the microphones, please.
15.
Mr. Beeks, did you have any questions? You've been gone from public discussion of the budget. You tracking okay with what's before you?
I am, and that's why I clarified if anyone had anything other than salaries to discuss, I would get involved at that moment, but I'm fine with what was put together.
Okay.
Hear any more on whether or not we got the grant for the park?
No,
Just-
that would probably be fall.
Oh, okay.
I did reach out to Habitat for Humanity and put out there that I was seeking donations. The Kalamazoo Habitat for Humanity does a really great job with putting on Facebook the things that people drop off and donate. So I was hopeful that someone was going to do a tear down and they had a restroom partition or 2 or 3 that we could go get. And then I put a note out there that if anybody had anything, I'd be seeking donations. I also put it out on my campaign page that I was looking for donations. We've got a lot of builders in this area, and as they work, someone's got to have a lead on something. And Gently Used is much improved over what we have right now.
Kalamazoo County has a pretty big parks program, and their director might, if they're restocking, park benches, things like that, that might be something they could get at a bulk rate that we might be able to get on too.
A great suggestion.
Dave Rakowitz.
Dave
Rakowitz.
Rakowitz. I'm not even gonna
It'd be worth
bring
checking
out my
into.
phonics.
Picnic tables and
Rakowitz. Phonics, right. That's a great suggestion. I do know, and I think I brought this up before, this is something that this board's gonna need to talk about. We've got a stellar relationship with the Gull Lake Area Rotary, and they do a lot of good things in the Ross Township Park. I was approached by the president, Don Deibler, who challenged us to think about ways they can help support Ross Township. I know one of the things that Trustee Langshaw and I have been talking about is the wooden picnic benches in the park. People stand on them and drag them all over, and they've got splinters, and they're starting to fall apart. And if you dream a little dream, wouldn't it be nice to have that poly, I don't know what the name is for it, a poly, not necessarily a polywood, but something that's more weather resistant. That's not exciting, but perhaps,
What you have to think about, though, I think they're super heavy,
yep,
and so I don't know about moving them into the, you know.
we wouldn't have to.
Right, okay.
Permanently in the ground. You know, that's what, you know, they're meant to be outside.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
that was what I'm
That's the
saying.
problem, is they drag them to the fences so they can escape. So they jump the fence to get in and then use,
We had one go in the water.
we had one in the water.
One in the water when they took them out.
Yeah. So it sounds kind of boring to have a bunch of picnic tables, but it means a lot when you have a family go to a park and you've got a nice place to spread out. So I'm going to invite President Deibler to come here. So I challenge this group to really think about ways they are asking to spend money in our township. And so how can we benefit from that ask? So let's think about that.
Put a list together at one of the budget meetings of different things we thought that they could help us with. I'll go back and look at my notes.
Okay, yeah, bring that forward. And now that spring is here, we'll bring him forward too.
I just know that we need to get the bathroom fixed up because that's not nice.
No, it's not,
We've been dealing with that a long time and it needs to be fixed up.
right. So we're 5 minutes before the expiration of our budget meeting. Do we have any further discussion before I open it up for citizen comment? There being no further discussion, I'll be moving into second citizen comment. We will be limiting comments to the Ross Township Board to 1 minute, and you are welcome to step up to the podium and offer your feedback to the board at this time. 5:55 PM. It's a quiet group tonight. Nobody wants to talk. So I'll be closing public comment at 5:55 PM. And there being no further business, I would be seeking a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and support to adjourn. We will be having our regular board meeting starting at 6:00 PM. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. There, you can go sit in Lynn's spot. Okay. Good evening. It is March 18th. Welcome to the Ross Township Board regular meeting. I will be calling the meeting to order. It is 6:02 PM. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, you may proceed with the roll call.
Supervisor Hutchings.
Here?
Clerk Stage here. Treasurer Wiersma.
Here.
Trustee Langshaw. Trustee Beeks.
Here.
Trustee Harmon, absent with cause. Trustee White.
Here.
And Rob Thal is present.
Thank you. I'd be seeking an approval of the agenda as presented.
I move, make that motion.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into the consent agenda, I'd be seeking a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Also move.
We have a motion and support to accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm going to introduce John Pinkster, the Director of South Operations Life EMS. John has a moment that he is going to present to the Ross Township Board. Welcome.
Thank you.
I have a microphone right here.
Try
I'm going to get out of your way.
stay near the microphone, I guess, so everybody can hear. Oh, all right. I hate to do that. Make a lot of noise here. We'll try and keep it like here. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is John Pinkster, Director of South Operations for Life EMS Ambulance. So just some quick background about us tonight. There's a lot of information in this PowerPoint presentation we have in front of you. You guys have, the board members all have copies there as well, so you can reflect back on that. Please feel free as we kind of go through this tonight. I'm not here to keep you for an extra hour or anything like that. So some of the information we're going to be skipping through pretty quickly tonight. But Life EMS Ambulance is a locally owned and operated EMS agency. We've been in business now for we actually just celebrated our 45th year. Locally owned and operated, our president is Mark Meyer, and he's our sole owner and has been for all 45 years. Started the organization back then, and we now serve 10 counties throughout West Michigan. So I've been with the agency now for 27 years and have served in various capacities, but have been the Director of South Operations now for the past probably about 13, 14 years now. So just a little bit about us here. And again, this is all viewable for the board members later on, or you can check out a lot of this information on our website here, kind of the backstory. Just shows some of our background, kind of where we came from, the initial starts, initial ambulances. What a color, can you say that right up there? I mean, if you can make an ambulance service fly with that color green, I applaud anybody that can do that. So this shows you a little bit of our geography and our footprint, which of course continues to expand. Currently operating in 10 counties in West Michigan. This is our leadership team locally here. We currently have, and this number changes frequently, it's probably actually already out of date, but last I had checked 73 customized ambulances in our fleet here, 48 wheelchair vans, 7 buses. So a little bit of why partner with Life EMS. So we were just asked here to come out this evening and present a little bit about us. So this is some of the reasons that we give. I'm looking at that, and we'll kind of talk about each of these as we go through here. Talk a little bit about our history of performance and reliability. We've been operating under the Kalamazoo Valley Intergovernmental Ambulance Agreement for the past, 30 years now. That is probably one of the most stringent EMS contracts that has, am I not hearable?
I'm so sorry.
There we go. So we've been under that agreement now for the past probably about 30 years or so. Just announcing that we recently acquired the contract again this past year. We were actually the sole bidder on that contract this last go round here. But it's a very stringent EMS performance contract. It has not only the performance metrics in it, this time around it has some clinical metrics in it. It has equipment swap that we do with the fire departments. There's a lot of different things in there that make it one of the most stringent contracts, and you can actually read about some of it online. If you just search Kalamazoo Valley Intergovernmental Ambulance Agreement, you'll actually see the request for proposal pop up on there, and you can read through it. It's all public information. But this just shows some of our reporting capabilities here. This is what a typical on-time performance report looks like for any of the municipalities that we serve. We talked a little bit about different system designs here, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but a lot of EMS agencies report on average response times. Life EMS, and through our contract, we report at the fractile. So we do a 90th percentile compliance is what we're looking at. And this is just kind of comparing two different systems here, and it's just showing you that even though System 1 has a shorter, quote, average response time, they only actually make 89% of their calls in the 8 minutes or less. System 2, by comparison, has a longer, quote, average response time, but makes 96% of its calls in 8 minutes. So it's just a little bit of a differentiation in how EMS agencies report on their numbers. We currently operate in Kalamazoo County, of course, under the Kalamazoo County Medical Control Authority. We meet or exceed all of their standards that are set for us. And that includes, which is very unique to our county in this area, is the number of calls you're actually required to attend on before you get to different levels on the pre-hospital side there. So junior paramedics, you can see, have to hit 75 ALS transports. Senior paramedics have to hit 250 ALS transports in the course of their time in training there. This is our background on our clinical reporting. So we look at all of our training is done in the program called here, it's Power Ready, which formerly was named Power FTO. It's changed a couple times in the names there. But this is a daily observation report is all this is. Just shows you kind of the level of detail we go into when we're talking about training our field associates there. Some information we're particularly proud of here. This is the 2024 CARES information. This is our CARES performance data. So CARES is the Cardiac Registry to Enhance Survival. It's a nationwide apples-to-apples comparison of EMS systems. And this is the Life EMS report for Kalamazoo County for 2024. The entire report should be released next month in April there. We should see that come out, and then that will actually give us some good metrics to compare to, again, both statewide and nationally. But just to give you an idea here, these are the 2023 state and national averages here. So this is your overall survival to discharge. So this is all comers to a cardiac arrest event. So this is regardless if they've been down for 4 hours, but still are sort of warm, we're going to work them type of a thing, or we call them more of the fresh cardiac arrest where it's a witness situation, somebody drops into a shockable rhythm. This kind of gives you all different ideas there. So overall survival discharge rate, again, this is our state and national average, 7.8%. And 10.2% is the national. For our 2024 numbers, again, I don't have the current ones, but we suspect they'll be probably in line with these numbers here, is 13.9% overall. The big kind of cherry picking, if you will, or they call the Utstein numbers there. So, and it was just the place that they actually kind of created this. But those are the witnessed cardiac arrests that have the best chance of survival. So typically it's a shockable rhythm, and it's somebody that was witnessed to go into cardiac arrest. So if you look at that, you can see down here the overall survival numbers at the state level are 26%, 29.1%, the national level 32.8%, and 36.3%. For Life EMS for 2024, our numbers there you can see were 65.2% and 60% survival rates. So those are your witnessed cardiac arrests. And that's not, just to be clear, just a Life EMS function. That is all players. So it takes the amazing first responders we have present in this room, it takes the EMS crews, and it takes the hospitals. It takes the whole chain of survival to make that work. But still, those are numbers we're very, very proud of. And as far as we're aware, might be the highest numbers in the nation. So pretty incredible stuff that's happening in Kalamazoo County here over the last year. This just gives you some examples of ongoing education we do and disaster drills that we do participate in. This shows you a little bit about our equipment. Life EMS is a big user of the Stryker platform. So we have the power cots in the vehicles. We added all of the power loads into the vehicles as well. So we have pretty much a fully powered system for moving the patients, which reduces provider injury and makes the patient experience a little bit better. We record all of our vehicle data in a system called Street Eagle Pro. So it allows us to monitor all the crash information, acceleration, deceleration, driving performance characteristics. You actually have to type your PIN number as associated into the ambulance, and it kind of like tracks all of this information as you drive and actually scores you as you go along. Some of the different equipment that we carry on the ambulances. Recent addition down in the lower left-hand corner there is the Reeve stretcher. These are just different ways we can help move our patients into and out of facilities and homes. We utilize a system called FirstWatch. They're a big data agency in the EMS realm, and they help us monitor what's happening in the system in real time, and then how is our performance looking retrospectively as well. They also oversee our quality assurance, so it's a system that looks at our patient care records in the background and actually is looking at and scanning every single patient care record that we type into the system, looking at it, kind of going, good apple, good apple, good apple, bad apple, I need somebody to look at this, good apple, good apple, good apple. So in that sense, we have 100% chart review for the system helping us, and then it kind of picks out the ones that we need to look at manually there. Big on partnerships from Life EMS. That's again what has helped us grow over the years. Partnerships, whether that be with municipalities such as yourself here in Ross Township, whether that is partners in the community. We look at the marathon as an example of that, or any of the fire services that we operate with. We believe very largely that it's not just us. It takes everybody to make this thing work. We are very largely customer experience focused. We have a company called EMS Survey Team that actually surveys the transported patients that we have, so we can kind of understand how we're doing out there. It's one thing for us to say, yep, you did a great job, clinically everything is excellent, but really how did the customer feel, how did the patient feel when they were transported? That's what we care about at the end of the day. And that's what all our care is strive towards, is the customer experience there. So this just shows you a lot of the different metrics that we use to kind of score that and see how that transport is compared to other EMS agencies that are partnering with EMS Survey Team. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the technology we use in the background. This is our CAD, so computer-aided dispatch software that actually is running all the time, 24/7, 365. And we are dispatch our ambulances in particular out of our Grand Rapids location. That's what our dispatch center is. That's actually this picture right down below here is a snapshot of that. And certainly if anybody ever wants to check that out, we're happy to have, you can give tours up at that dispatch center. It's quite something to see. But this system does a lot of the heavy lifting in the background, helps us kind of identify where are the demand needs in the system, where are the ambulances able to get within certain timeframes. And it actually does, we call it predictive dynamic deployment with heat mapping. So essentially, if you think of it this way, we're now getting to more of the response weeds here. All of us have regular patterns of behavior that we do. We tend to wake up at the same time of day. We tend to eat the same thing for breakfast. We tend to take the same route to work at about the same time. We have a lunch at about the same time. We kind of go home at the same time. And so what this does is it allows us to kind of map that human behavior, if you will, and look to see where are the calls going to most likely happen. And because as people move, the calls move. And so that allows us to look at that. It looks back retrospectively and says, okay, this date, this time, this is the most likely location for the next call to pop up. Now, we do a hybrid deployment here in Kalamazoo County, so we use part of this system, and then we also have a partially static plan as well. So, and the reason for that is our main ambulance service, one of the other competitors in town here, has dissolved completely about 2 years ago. 2 years coming this upcoming June. And so when that happened, we also became responsible essentially for the vast majority of Kalamazoo County. Life EMS did. In fact, the only township we don't cover is Ross Township today. So when that happened, we had to look at how do we kind of balance that coverage, understanding that the bulk of the people are located in sort of the metro areas, right? Your city of Kalamazoo, your city of Portage. So we have to be then conscious of that and kind of balance that out. So we did a hybrid deployment plan, which has worked pretty well for us, and continue to kind of tweak that as things go along. One of the things we saw, and that was a big question, was can we handle that volume? Can we handle when the competitor went out of business? And what we actually saw was that response times throughout the county actually improved as a whole. So that was one of the things that we were particularly proud of being able to make happen there. Life EMS recently deployed brand new cardiac monitors. We just deployed the Stryker LifePak 35. This is their newest, latest, and greatest high-tech next generation cardiac monitor out there. It has some new capabilities like 15-lead EKGs. It does things like help the medic diagnose where if you're having a heart attack, what part of the heart is affected in that. And then, of course, brings us into more of the modern touchscreen era with a lot of the devices as well. So these were just deployed, and Life EMS was actually the first EMS agency in the nation to purchase these, to take delivery of them. So we're pretty excited about that and did a big rollout there that you can see. This just talks about some of the leadership and innovation we have. We're big believers in the accreditation service, so we are CAS accredited, which is kind of the gold standard for EMS agencies across the nation. Our dispatch center is also ACE accredited. This is a pretty unique one. There are only 2 centers, I believe, in the state of Michigan, and only 1 in West Michigan, which is Life EMS, that are ACE accredited as far as the dispatch side. We have a brand new innovation and education center up at our Grand Rapids campus there, and our KHEP accredited there, and COAMPS accredited as well. Additional programs we offer at Life EMS, and one is called Tandem 365. So if you've ever heard the term PACE, which is on the right-hand side there, PACE is a all-inclusive care for the elderly program. So Life EMS has a PACE-like program known as Tandem 365. We are a 1/5 owner of that particular organization. It's based out of our Grand Rapids campus. We do employ, we call them integrated care paramedics. The goal of this is to identify high utilizers of the medical system. Typically, it's anybody that costs the system about over $50,000 a year. They're enrolled into the program through typically Priority Health is the main underwriter of this particular program. And then we actually assign them case managers, nurse managers, and integrated care paramedics that help go out to the scene and mitigate the transports to the hospital. One of our newest things that we launched just about a year and a half ago is our behavioral health transport. One of the things that positively came out of COVID is looking at the mental health landscape. And as we're all familiar, there were a tremendous number of challenges that came out of the mental health scene with COVID, and ever since, really. The mental health landscape has not been the same since, and it's just been a constantly increasing portion of our business over the time. When it came to that, those used to be transported by ambulance. And there's nothing worse than having somebody who has a mental health condition, strapping them into a stretcher, bouncing them down a road for 4 hours to get to a place and say, okay, here you go, have a good day type of thing. So we said there's got to be a better way. So this is actually a program we borrowed. Mark Meyer, our owner, went over to Peoria, Illinois, and found a EMS service over there that had done some innovation on that side. And we took what they had done and kind of brought that here into the Michigan front and launched our behavioral health transport. So now we have these small SUVs, they're Ford Escapes, and yes, there is a little bit of a pun on that, the fact that this is more of a no escape situation, not an escape situation when you're driving down the road with these. But regardless, it's a much more comfortable ride. It like uses a soft squad car approach, if you will, to safely house the behavioral health transport patient in back of the vehicle there. We have camera systems that live stream and monitor that patient while we're transporting them. And no longer is this somebody that's now in an ambulance bouncing down the road for hours on end, and it's not draining the EMS system for that resource as well. It's providing the right resource to the right patient at the right time and makes their transport much smoother into the environment. In fact, we've received tremendous feedback from the mental health institutions that we've worked with that when the patients arrive, they're calmer, they're more adjusted, and they're quicker to discharge as a result of that. So we've now completed thousands of transports with our behavioral health transport program and continue to build that. We have 7 of these on the road today and are continuing to add. We have an 8th one already being built right now. All right, so the reason we're here, tried to, again, a lot of information there just to breeze through. But Ross Township, where do we head? What are the options there? I know you guys are looking at this, and I want to make very clear today, we work well with Emergent Health Partners, Life Care, Ambulance Today. So I'm not here to disparage them. We think they're a great organization as a whole. We think they do a great job. So we're not here to talk about that. What we are here to talk about is what could we potentially do for Ross Township here. So this just shows you literally a visual projection, and this is based on Ross Township today has a KCMCA, the Medical Control Authority, has set a 14-minute response time mark for the Med 1, the Priority 1 lights and sirens type transports there. So this gives you an example of where we could potentially likely be coming from, and I have a little bit more of that in detail here. These are some of the, we term them posts, or the locations. So we are not a station-based service. We have a station, a main physical station down on North Street, down in downtown Kalamazoo area there, but we deploy dynamically, as we kind of showed a little bit earlier there. So the ambulances are constantly moving and readjusting over the course of the entire county there to serve the needs of the 911 system. This would give you an idea of some different response times. These are simply Google Map projections that I put in here. Do understand, I've got a next slide that kind of shows you what a real world response would look like, but these are literally just drive time calculations from Google. And a Med 1 response, we typically will beat those estimates because we're running lights and sirens, we're able to get through some of the lights and around some of the traffic a little bit better there. So as an example, you can see if we were coming from our post 15 there, that'd be approximately a 12-minute response time, and I actually use the Township Hall just to give a reference point for everybody there. Post 16, which would be more of the Galesburg area there, that would be about a 13-minute response time. Post 8 from Sprinkle and I-94 is projected to be an 18-minute response time. This one is interesting for you to look at because the next slide I show here was an actual response that we had last year to Ross Township from that location. So this was from the Sprinkle and I-94 area there. You can see post 8 right there. And the actual response time they got was 9 minutes and 37 seconds. So beat the projection by a fair margin on that one. Now, does that mean that's always the case? Of course not. There are winter conditions, there's traffic issues, certain things can slow that down, There were not a large sampling of these for me to grab, obviously. So I just literally picked one of them out of the hat there and looked it up, and this is what we had as an actual response. This shows you kind of our current deployment pattern. I mentioned we do a hybrid system here. So these are the first static deployment levels here that you can kind of see and where those posts are down below. Under the Kalamazoo Valley Intergovernmental Ambulance Agreement, we have certain equipment, disposable, perishable medical equipment that is swapped with the fire departments. This is a list of the common items that we swap today. So we swap our portable oxygen tanks, any of the oxygen delivery devices, CPAPs, BVMs, OPAs, NPAs, cervical collars, bandaging supplies, and the Stryker CR2 AED pads. Those are a particularly pricey item right there. So just to give you an idea of the equipment that we swap out today.
Can you talk about
Yes,
that?
absolutely.
Is by swapping, is this what you mean when you reimburse our first
Correct.
responders when they're out using their equipment? So you
Yep.
would replenish their.
So
supply?
exactly. So if they were on a cardiac arrest, we'll just use this as an example. They use their AED. The pads are used up, right, on that use. They're a single-use device. We have a fresh set of those pads that we keep on the ambulance that we simply hand to the fire department, and they put the AED back in service.
And all of your equipment matches what our equipment on the fire truck
Yep,
matches.
correct.
Everything matches.
And then we provide additionally, again, to our Kaiva partners, so the iGel Airways as an example of that, we have a bag that we just would swap out with, and like, you use one, here's a whole bag that's fresh, it's checked, it's sealed, it's in date. So it makes it a very easy process. And the same with the C-spine equipment. So if you're on a motor vehicle accident, somebody uses a cervical collar, we have a whole bag that's the cervical collars, the immobilization device, the straps, all sealed, contained, and we just swap out the whole bag.
Okay, thank you.
So system success, we always believe, depends on four main pillars here. One, of course, is our patient care. We kind of touched on all these different aspects of that, the response times, the quality of service, and the customer service, right? Economic stability, profitability, system stability, less use of mutual aid, and associate well-being. And then, of course, as I kind of mentioned, strong community partnerships. So I know that was a ton of information to try and get through and throw at everybody. So I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
That's fantastic. You did an outstanding job. And I want to be honorable for your time because I know you could potentially go at any time. I'd like to first have the board ask questions.
Let me
If we have
come up.
questions. And then we have our fire department here. I want to hear from our fire department. And then we'll let you go.
Sounds good.
Does the board have any questions of our guest? In the microphone. Thank you.
Everybody knows I've been gone for 2 months, so tell me, what are we actually trying to do? Are we trying to still identify who we want to partner with for how many years?
We don't,
Is it 1 year? Is it 5 years? Is it just until, or
it's,
we don't have that detail?
Well, you could probably explain the contract.
Yes, yep.
So we've already reviewed a contract.
This is though, there's a intergovernmental agreement.
Correct.
All the municipalities have to sign on to,
Okay.
to be a part of the organization.
Yeah, so the best route for Ross Township for us would be with the Kaiva agreement, as I kind of mentioned. The Kaiva agreement is a competitive bid process, and we just finished that up this past fall. So that is bid out every 10 years. The initial contract is a 4-year, and then there are 3 2-year extensions that go with that agreement. Being a little bit late to the game, we would have to figure out, like, what does that look like for Ross Township if you were wanting to join on board with that. We actually have a similar situation with Galesburg currently as well. So it wouldn't be the only situation we have to deal with that. But just kind of understanding what is the vehicle to get on board with that contract, what does that look like, and how do we make that happen? We are happy to entertain if the township board says, hey, we're looking to move to Life EMS, would you entertain a independent contract? We would also look at that if that was something the board chose to do. But of course, the Kaiva agreement is already established, it's out there, and it is public information.
Okay. Thank you.
and just to follow up and answer your question, I did, Attorney Thal sent all of the agreements out, and I emailed them out to the board and to the fire department on January 23rd for review. And I don't know if Attorney Thal had any comments or questions from anybody, but that's, all the information has already gone out.
And then just for the board's awareness as well, I did send along, and hopefully you received those, a copy of the current ambulance rates, the transport rates.
Yes,
So
thank you.
those are available as well. Those are, again, our public record and part of the KIVA agreement, so.
Sorry, I'm still not sure.
Siri's never sure.
I know. So I think I'll go out on a limb and just say I was really impressed with Dr. Fales. He came to our supervisors meeting at the Kalamazoo Dispatch Center and did a fantastic speak over of the statistics that you talked about. I was very impressed. I'm impressed with what you brought to the table today. But I don't have to rely on you when I'm out in the field. And so I'm very interested in hearing from our first responders who meet you out in the field. And I'm going to put you on the stand, and I'm going to ask our first responders if they have any comments or stories or statistics or anything that you'd like to share with the board. Now would be the time. We're open to hearing what your thoughts are. We have a microphone.
Happy to hand it over to whoever.
Introduce yourself.
Rob Leatherman, Deputy Chief of Fire Department. So I can tell you from us at leadership, it's not that we're saying we want to go with Life EMS for sure. We just want to explore some of these options. Life EMS has a great track record that works in the Kalamazoo system, and we've recognized that. My caveat is, and I'll be truthful, I am a former employee of Life EMS, so of course I probably have a small bias there, but I think collectively as a department, we talked and just wanted to spark the interest of the potential for a change, maybe, and so that's kind of what we're aiming for. But you know, being part of the company, it was a great company to work for. I really enjoyed it, working beside them with the city of Portage, who contracts with them. It's a great partnership. They're very good with sharing information when we need information. We meet with Dr. Fales and the KCMCA fellows and leadership there to track our records. And if you see some of the numbers that come out of the system, I mean, to have Kalamazoo County in such a high percent for getting people out of cardiac arrest, and that's attributed to, you know, partnerships that work all together collectively and work very well. And that working well in a partnership is kind of key to this whole situation. So as a department, yeah, just kind of looking to explore a little bit and see some options, and hoping we can get some interest from our community and our board members to see what that might look like. So
Thank you, sir.
Can you touch briefly on memberships and those that have like your memberships?
Yeah, so we do offer a membership. Ours is called the Life Care Plus membership, interestingly enough. You can actually go online and visit the information on our website. There's an annual fee for that. It does change periodically based on reimbursables and things like that, insurance companies. But what that does is helps limit risk for out-of-pocket expenses. Typically insurance, well, and especially today, I mean, the world we're in, you pay more for less coverage every single year that we go, right?
Right.
That's just how insurance is. And it helps kind of limit those damages, those out-of-pocket expenses for people that are transported by EMS. So it covers and reimburses essentially up to about 90% of that. Anything that they would have that would typically go to like a deductible, which those are most plans anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per individual these days for a deductible. So it helps with that. For townships and municipalities that Life EMS has acquired, so like what we did with the collapse of Pride Care there, we honored their initial memberships for the first year and then worked to switch people over to our memberships from that point on.
So that was my question. So we do have a partnership right now with Life Care, and we do have a lot of individuals that have that membership.
Yep.
So are you saying that you would honor those memberships for 12
Correct.
months
So
or a
that's
year?
typically how we've done that in the
Okay.
past, is we typically will just say, hey, starting this date from 12-month period forward, whenever we begin service, we'll honor that membership for anybody that has one in Rouse Township, and then the following year, we'll work to get everybody kind of swapped over to the Life membership.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you. Fire team's quiet. Come on, guys. Uh-oh.
Okay, I just have one insight on this, because I know nothing about 90% of what he talked about. I'm not the medics, I'm not a firefighter. But there's one slide that I did pick up on in the brief times that I've been on scenes with life there. One of the things I noticed, 'cause I'm a people watcher, I watch people. And the one thing I will mention about life is, for lack of a better word, their bedside manner is good. How they treat the people that their patients. Okay, it's not like Doug and I, whose bedside manner is, would scare people. But it would, you know it. Yeah, I put myself in the same boat with you. But I just noticed the way they treat people is very commendable to your organization. And the fact that you track that with surveys, I like that. So I just wanted to point that out. I've seen it, and it's a priority to those folks.
Appreciate that, Chief. And that is one of our, you can see right up there on the screen, our core values are skill and compassion when it's needed most. So that is certainly something we strive for every day in our organization. Doesn't mean we hit the mark 100% of the time. And just to be clear, we are still human beings and we still miss that mark sometimes. But we're accountable to that and work very hard to make sure that we right any wrongs that have happened out there. And if we do make those mistakes, we learn from them. So.
I was actually at my neighbor's house this weekend when Life was there, and our first responders were there, and I was very impressed with how they treated my neighbor. So, great job.
Well, thank you.
Great job. All right, who else from the fire team would like to speak? No, you do, because we're recording.
My name is Michael King. I'm a firefighter with the township, obviously. What happens in the event that there's a multi-casualty event within the county? Richland's got a call, then all of a sudden we get a call. You have a shooting downtown, you've got 4 or 5 ambulances down there. What happens in that situation with us out here?
Yeah, so great question, and quite honestly, is a daily occurrence for us. Not necessarily the shooting part, but certainly we get very busy over the course of the day. We build our schedules every 6 months, and so we look at our what's called peak load staffing on that, and we look at how many emergency calls are taking place at that. Most EMS agencies will build to a 90th percentile. We typically will build to a 95th percentile of that, and then we also have surge cars. So yours truly still runs the system. So if we get a busy day and we're getting our teeth kicked in Kalamazoo, I'll hop on an ambulance. Our deputy director will hop on an ambulance. Any of our supervisors will hop on an ambulance to make extra cars to meet that surge need. In instances where, take last year's tornado as an example that happened in the city of Portage, we mustered, I think it was 26 total ambulances. Out of that, we actually sent several ambulances down from our Grand Rapids operation to assist with things down here in Kalamazoo. And we also rely on mutual aid contracts. So that doesn't mean we're not going to call for help, right? In those large, once-in-a-lifetime type situations, or if it's just a crazy day out and everybody's getting it handed to them, right? So we will certainly call in mutual aid partners if need be to kind of help in those sorts of circumstances. So whether that would be Life Care, whether that be Plainwell EMS, whether that be Three Rivers to the south, Van Buren EMS to the west. Certainly there are times, few and far between, I will say, for the most part in the county there, but we do certainly call in mutual aid when it's needed. But our first ramp up is always internally.
Christina, what do you see as the options for the space in our hall for ambulance service going forward? Could it be empty?
I don't see anything, because we're talking about our care provider partner right now. So I think we need to get our care provider partner nailed down first, and then we can explore that right now. That shouldn't be part of our thought process with this, because we need to make sure we're caring for our residents first and foremost, whether that's occupied or not, and I think that's where we need to be today.
Any other questions from anybody on any topics?
All right. There being no further comments, I saw you whack him in the arm over there. You're not going to get him to speak? Come on, guys.
Right here. Now's your chance.
Okay. All right, they're going to be shy.
Good, bad, or the ugly. It's all good.
Shy. Well, you've done an outstanding job. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming to Ross Township. Thank you for our packets of information, and I know Attorney Thal already sent the agreements out. We're in possession of, I think, everything that we need at this point, and if we have any other questions, then we will reach out to you.
Absolutely. We're happy to be any service the township would like. If you have any further questions, we're happy to answer those. And if you
Thank
would ever
you.
like us back out at a future meeting, feel free. We're just down the road for you. So, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts in looking at all this. And again, I don't want to disparage. You have a good service provider today. So this isn't something you need to rush into. This is something you have time to think about, walk through, and make sure the decision is right for the township.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Plug here quick a minute.
Glad you didn't get any calls while you were.
Right. Normally that's about an hour and a half presentation, so distilling it down to about, what did we get, 15, 20 minutes there? I think we did all right.
You
It's
did a
a lot
great
of
job.
information. And I'm sure those listening online can just slow it down by about 50%, and they'll be able to catch the entire thing.
Move this out of the way.
Yeah, I got it, yep. Where does this get plugged in now?
Right in the front, right in the front. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate your
absolutely.
time. Right here. And it's a touch screen, don't you? So we've got another speaker tonight. And then you can minimize it, close it, whip it up. Yep, Kingston up there in the upper left-hand corner. You got it. Pull out what you need.
Jake. Never mind, Amanda's giving me yours, thank you.
I'm gonna put you right here so you can.
Unless it's over here. Oh, mine's over there. Okay.
So our next presenters are going to talk about stormwater runoff and lakes. And I'm going to turn it over right now to Carrie, and she's got the microphone.
Does this advance it, or
It should.
the arrow, or the,
Yes.
that'll come out from?
There you go.
So I'm Carrie Rivette, and this is Paul Hausler. Paul takes care of a lot of area lakes. He's the lake expert for our company. I am the stormwater expert. I spent over 10 years in city government doing stormwater. And Paul and I realized there's a disconnect between the stormwater and the lake quality. A lot of the lake quality people look at the quality of the waters just in the lake and what's there. And together we're trying to look at what we can do to make sure what's coming into our lakes is cleaner, besides what's washing off just from the shoreline. As many of you know, it rains, it picks up everything it touches along the way, takes it into our streams that lead to our lakes or directly to our lakes, and the cycle continues. And in the last several years, we've seen that we're getting a lot more intense storms more frequently. I saw calls pick up street flooding in the last 10 years change dramatically. And we also you have our packets, so we're not going to go through all this information, but things are changing and things are getting a little harder with the rain, and that's just bringing more and more water and contaminants into our lake that it's picking up along the way. Yeah, you can see heavy precipitation events we're expected to go up about 35%, and from what I've seen, and southeast side of the state has seen some really incredible storms really close together. They're hitting more, so the more we can prepare, the better it'll be for our lakes. And let's face it, you've got a beautiful lake here that we want to protect. Just more data on that, and I don't want to take too much of your time up. I want to get to our favorite stuff to talk about. So coming from streets with open storm drains, or even just what runs off into the ditches in the area when you have private drains and county drains. Anything that comes off your lawn, your driveway, your streets, ends up in your waterways. Yeah. And then as it gets there, if you're ending up with outfalls that go to your waterways, it's coming at a much, much faster speed than land was made to absorb. So you're getting a lot of erosion, you're getting a lot of sediment coming with it. That soil and sediment carries everything else. It actually will carry some of the E. coli that's in the system. So it's not just direct from your pet waste, possible septics. It's in the soils that go in with it.
Now we're getting to biology. So I'm a biologist, Carrie's an engineer. So harmful algal blooms are something that if you're in the industry, lake management or water resource management, it's really ticked up in the last 10 years. And I think it's a combination of things. It's partially, climate change. It's partially the intensity of storms is increasing. More nutrients are coming into the system. We've done some studies on ice cover on lakes. We have data that goes back to the 1800s, and basically the duration of ice cover has greatly been reduced in the past 50 years, and even it seems to be accelerating. Even this year we actually had decent ice, but the past 2 years before that we didn't. So we're seeing what happens is these particular harmful algae blooms or blue-green algae, they will overwinter in the sediment, and the more days or photo period, or the more days where light gets to the bottom, the more they can multiply and grow faster. And you see these algae blooms earlier in the year, they last longer into the fall. And then what that causes, these nutrients coming into the lake, they also are basically enter the system. The algae uses them up, plants in the lake use them up. They eventually go to the bottom of the lake where the bacteria break them down, and as those bacteria are breaking things down, they're using up oxygen. So you see this reduction in oxygen, and then what that does eventually, it could cause animals to either move to different locations or they die if there's not enough oxygen. So this is an example of Paw Paw Lake, showing the deeper portions of the lake based on sampling that we did, that the red areas, basically there was no oxygen below about 25 feet. So everything below that basically had zero oxygen. It kind of is a situation where the nutrients that normally sink to the bottom because of the no oxygen situation can be released from the sediments and be reused. So it's recycling in a bad way, so that nutrients can be reused by the algae. So that actually can cause algae blooms. And then also, we talked about some of the sources, pet and avian waste, E. coli and nutrients are both added from those sources. You got all kinds of household chemicals. We didn't even list like PFAS and microplastics, because that's the new stuff that's out there. But E. coli, cleaners, detergents, pesticides, oils, and grease. And then chlorides is another big thing that as roads are being salted, we think about the winter salting, but a lot of dirt or roads get brine to keep the dust down also in the summer. And then another source of salt is water softeners. A lot of people, if they're using well water, may have water softeners. So if they're not installed or maintained properly, those can add chlorides to the natural system as well. Those can cause water temperatures to rise. They also can, in extreme situations, can cause what's called a chemocline, where it basically, in a body of water, will cause it to not mix at all. So in the deeper water, not only do you have no oxygen, you have carbon dioxide building up. So eventually it could be a dangerous situation. And then I don't know if you want to handle this stuff, Carrie.
It's got my favorite slide in it. just an example when we talk about sediment and what it picks up along the way. It's picking up everything, your oils and greases. If you look at that top right picture that's jet black, that's what was cleaned out of catch basins and dumped. When you see what's taken out of sewer cleaners, it actually looks just brown like soils, but what comes out of your catch basins is black like that. And it's just everything you're carrying with it. The sediment itself, when it gets to the lake, will hurt your habitat, but then you've got the E. coli, the oil and greases that it's picked along the way that's turned it that black color. It's really important to do what you can to try and keep those out of your lakes, which means keeping them out of your storm system. Again, it can cause all the issues Paul was talking about in the lakes. Now we get to what I think is the fun part. What can we do to help these things? Nature-based solutions, those are all, except for the one on the really skinny one on the far left, that's turf grass. Not only does it have the tiniest roots, those roots grow in a mat-like, so it's almost, it's not acting like a pavement, but it's not acting like a grass that has deeper roots and native, that are native plants. Yeah. So turf grass can somewhat block the water coming down. In these areas where you have bad soils, those roots will help break up the soils so the water can get through, plus they're absorbing it. Plus those native plants will help to absorb the water when you have a wet spot, it takes up the water, but it also lets these plants survive in dry conditions too, because those roots are deeper to where it can get more water in the ground. So you need less water for them. They soak up what's there. What runs across them at the top is getting filtered, and it helps the soil soak in like it was meant to. You know, originally we weren't all pavement, and there's still a lot of beautiful grasses and native plants around here, but that's the stuff that lets the rainwater soak in. It slowly goes down into the groundwater, so the groundwater slowly goes to our lakes. It's cooler in temperature taking that route. It's not causing that soil erosion, and it's just a healthier way. I'm sure many of you have heard of rain gardens, and that's their main purpose. Catch that water, soak it in. It's also, you know, these days you hear all the talk about the pollinators and the butterflies. Very helpful to that kind of habitat. But it can be done in it can be on the side of the road, it can be on the side of somebody's house before it gets to the road, all types of ways to get those rain gardens in. Go ahead. The other place for the native plants is as filter strips along your shorelines. Again, as the water goes, if it's going overland, it'll help it to soak in more, but if it doesn't actually get absorbed in by the time it gets to the lake, it's been somewhat filtered by the plants that it's gone through. Go ahead. And then on the opposite, we have those hardened shorelines, and those are awful for habitat, to put it bluntly. You don't have that transition zone, and you've got the soils mixing at the bottom, which is bad for your habitat.
It increases scouring too, because instead of absorbing waves, it's reverberating off the seawall, usually in a downward force, where it stirs up the bottom, causes turbidity in the lake. It also has been shown that disturbed areas caused by seawalls often promote invasive species because they like disturbances. So also, you know, obviously turf grass all the way down to your seawall is not good because you're not getting any percolation, or you're just not getting any uptake from that. And as a counter to that is the natural shorelines, at which, you know, are nature-based, obviously, so they provide all, I'm not going to go through all those. You guys have these on your packet there, but all the different ecosystem services that these natural shorelines provide. You can also make your, you know, people-friendly habitat down near the lake, you know, your beach area, your dock, but also keep some of it natural. Nobody really wants to mow when they go to the lake anyway, so why have turf grass? You might as well just have some native plantings and bushes and shrubs and stuff. Not to say there's no maintenance with that, but it's much better at absorbing the nutrients before they get to the lake. And then I'll give this back to you.
And then, so you get into some of your other options. and I know you've got limited options, but things to keep in the back of your mind when you're seeing construction projects, when you've got potential construction projects. If you've got stormwater going through an outfall to a lake, even if you can pull that pipe back a little bit, which is, you can't, that's what was done on the left, but you can't see it because all the native vegetation has grown up around it. But any chance you can get to expose it to the environment, let it sink in before it gets to your lake, it'll slow it down and increase your water quality. Go ahead. Permeable pavers, if you're looking at resurfacing, something that, again, that will let that water sink in as opposed to rushing off. If you're replacing catch basins and you've got sandy soils that'll allow it, a catch basin with holes in it and surround it by gravel, again, lets it sink in. You can, protect your roads and let it overflow to the storm systems. But, again, any chance you can take, that's an easy one that out of sight, out of mind. If you've got a lot of utilities, you can work with that. There's always mechanical filters too. It's not always our first choice, but if you have limited space, this one actually, they work by gravity. They'll either have baffles to help settle contaminants out. This one actually swirls your water. The sediments go to the bottom, the floatables go to the top, and the rest goes kind of through the middle. That's cleaner. We've seen great results with these mechanical filters. So just suggestions to make. Paul and I love the water, so we like to have people thinking in the back of their mind when they're doing new projects, or even if you're working at home in your yard and you have a wet spot or something that's running off to the streets, and anything you can do to catch that and soak it in will help our lakes and streams.
Kind of reiterate too, one of the things with lakes, generally as far as the water quality of lakes, what we look at when we're looking at nutrients coming to the lake, typically the biggest source around most inland lakes is septic seepage. But because Gull Lake and some of the other lakes around do have collection sewers, that's the second biggest impact is from stormwater. So once you have those sewers in place, that's your next focus, should be on stormwater.
Thankfully, both Gull and Sherman have sewers.
Yes.
So we're
Yep.
very,
So,
very
you're in
happy.
good shape, but now, like you said, may want to focus on stormwater. We are meeting with the Gull Lake Quality Organization in a
Yes.
couple weeks here.
So one of the things I think that frustrates me, I live on Sherman Lake, is that we've got a number of drains that push the rainwater right into the lake. And so I love everything that you put here, but then I'm thinking, I can't touch the drain. So what do you recommend, right? I can't just go out and plant a turf grass on a drain, because then I'm going to have the drain commissioner upset with me. So how do we tackle your suggestions with that happening? Because we did, like I said, we did just put in sewer around Sherman Lake, and now we have, I think, 8 drains around Sherman Lake that do nothing but tunnel gravel from the shoulder. And if you've got, cartons or trash or Kleenex, it's all going into the lake. So help us with that
So that's
concept.
where step one is education. Talk to all the neighbors and tell them about this first part. Don't over fertilize your yard. Get it tested, go to the Soil Conservation Service and get it tested. See what you actually need and only apply the amount you need for fertilizers. When you're working outside on your car, make sure nothing's going to the yard. Don't litter. Don't feed the animals. That's just, pick up your dog poop. Don't feed the geese and the wildlife, but just make sure everybody knows that anything that's loose outside will end up in a waterway eventually. So first step is to tell people to make sure they're conscious of what's going there. You can have events where you go out and mark those drains and say dump no waste drains to water. But just making sure people know. Second step is talk to the drain commissioner. Find out, hey, are there places where we have these inlets where we can prevent, slow down the water beforehand and try and get them to a rain garden. Neighbors that houses, their driveways and their houses go to the street, see if they'll put in a rain garden to try and keep all the water you can from their catch basins before it goes to the drains.
Okay.
Getting your neighbors to do rain barrels, to take the runoff from their house as opposed to getting it to the street. they can use that to water their plants. So, yeah, I think education is the first part, and see if, talk to the drain commissioner, say anything we can partner on. Are there any grants out there that you'd want to work together with us to see if we can improve that quality?
Is that a county drain that comes?
Oh, it's not.
They are not.
Okay. Is it like road commission drain or is it? Okay.
They're just private.
Just private?
Oh, those are private that they installed?
They've been there forever.
Okay, you made it sound like there's some new ones, no?
No,
Okay,
there's 8 drains that exist. They're not new.
Okay.
Like Amanda said, they've literally been there forever.
okay, so they're private.
And they lead right into the lake.
Yeah, find out who owns them and see what you can do if they're willing to work with you, and again, grants too,
Okay.
yeah.
I was hoping that you would have some magic solution that I could call a number and,
But-
It's very site specific and
Okay.
a lot of it depends on who owns the
isn't it in the right of way? It's in the road.
If it's in the road, it sounds like it's the road commission,
county or, yeah.
Okay.
or whoever owns the roads in that area, especially
Okay.
if it's going into catch basins. I'll leave you my card, I might be able to help you find the owner.
Thank you. I would love that. Thank you. Good resource. Thank you.
Yeah, so-
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for our guests? Did a great job.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I'll take it, because I got to put my agenda back up. You're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
That was nice meeting you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We'll be in touch. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, I'm going to switch gears, put our agenda back on the board. In my pocket.
Glad she knows what she's doing.
Limited in scope sometimes. All right, we're back live. We are back into the agenda, and we are moving through to citizen comment. It is 6:59 PM. We are moving into citizen comment, and I'm gonna get my timer up. For citizen comment, I request that you please speak up. The meeting is being recorded for YouTube. We are live. We would appreciate if you clearly state and spell your last name for our minutes. Comments are strictly enforced to 3 minutes. Citizen comment is designed for one-way commentary to address the board. All citizens providing comment should address their remarks to the supervisor, board chair, who may respond to provide brief factual information. Board members will refrain from speaking during citizen comment. If citizens need specific assistance, please contact Ross Township during business hours for additional guidance or information. Public comment is now open. Who would like to approach the podium and address the board?
Yes, I'm Chris Helmbold, that's Helmbold. I live on 39th Street, and I just had a comment about the presentation they just gave, and I'm wondering if they have like handouts that they can give to residents on the lake of how they could, what plants they could use for like rain gardens or whatever they could use along the lake shore to help rainwater. Like, we've had some very heavy rains lately, and if it can slow it down and help prevent pollution in the lake. Just wonder if they have handouts available.
I will give you mine, and then I'm going to put some on the Ross Township website.
Okay.
So if you'd like to take my copy, and then I will put it on the Ross Township website. Do you get our email updates?
I think my wife does.
Perfect. And then you can share that with your neighbors. And great question. Happy to share the information. Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to address the board during public comment? It is 7:01 PM. Public comment is now closed. I will be moving into various committee reports. I know the fire chief is here and he has training. I'm going to have him start us off. Welcome, fire chief. You might want to readjust that.
Welcome back, Mr. Beeks. You're well tanned, I see. That's good. So for the first 2 months of this year, and I don't know if I don't think I made the last couple meetings here. So I don't know, did we cover a total for last year for runs? I don't know if we did. Last year, I think we were at 395 for runs, which was down from the year before. So far, for the first 2 months of this year, Jake's got us at 69 calls for January and February. That has jumped almost to 100 runs in the first 15 days of March. We had 5 or 6 calls on Saturday, so last week has been a pretty busy week, so between everything. So we have jumped up quite a bit. We had a structure fire, vehicle fire, 18 medical calls, a couple car accidents. Calls by area, Ross Township, we got 26 out of for the month of February, which was 34. 26 out of the 34 was in Ross Township. 7 was in the village of Augusta. So if my math is right, that's about 1/5 of the calls are still in the village of Augusta, which are one square mile. So, I mean, you look at the other 35 square miles in the Ross Township, and so actually the village probably has a fair share of their calls. So just for, like I said, if my math is right, you know, I'm not any mathematician by any means. So we were done, went to Galesburg, the G Avenue 96 calls, which I was really hoping to make it to that meeting and I didn't. So
We're going to have another one.
And we received mutual aid from Richland, Hickory, Galesburg on a garage fire down on West Lake Drive. So we've had quite a bit of variety of calls for the first 2 months. So we received the approval on a DNR grant that we applied for, which was I think we're getting $4,600 from the state. We have to put $4,600 in. So that's for some ice rescue suits, so Mr. Harrison can join in. And also some Indian guns, Indian packs that they'll put on the back for grass fires. And then we're looking at a utility trailer to load some of that equipment up. And so the guys did ice rescue training and got certified. Most of them, there was like 10 of our guys that got certified for ice rescue. So that happened last month, just before we got the ice in, about a week and a half before the ice went out. So we also applied for a grant with Hickory Corners in Delton. We won't find that out. That's the FEMA grant or Homeland Security grant. Usually July, September, before we'll know on that. So hopefully that's for new air packs that we're hoping for, because that's almost, our portion would be almost $200,000.
Wow.
So hopefully we'll get that, but if not, we'll have to proceed later on. So
Thanks, Chief.
I know everybody wants to ask a whole bunch of questions. I can see that. So
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, good evening, folks. Police side is, as you see by the stats, nothing of major significance. About the biggest event we had was with the fire department. There was an Amazon driver that decided to go flying through the air after it became a temporary hood ornament, but he actually is doing quite well. I talked to his mother, and he's just got a broken leg and some other minor internal injuries, but he, is on his way to recovery. Something significant that we're going to do different this year, Gull Lake water quality has given us a grant. Last year's grant we used for equipment for the boat, but now this year, since we've increased our fleet to 2 craft, we are looking at bringing on a marine patrol to assist me on the water this summer. So we're going to use the funds that we get from that to pay for that and bring 2 part-time people on board just during the summer months so that we can have more coverage out there on the water. So that is in the works there. We're dotting the i's and crossing the t's on that so that we can make that happen starting the Memorial Day weekend. So that's all I have for you folks.
Thank you, Chief. I didn't even recognize you because you are not in uniform. I knew I recognized you, but you're in normal clothes. You don't want to talk to us? We appreciate you, and we appreciate you helping us with the M96 and the G Avenue meeting. You need to probably MapQuest it and pin it to his shirt so he gets there next time. Thank you. It's the Sherman Lake Meeting Room. He got a deputy there, chop, between 5 o'clock at night when I emailed him for help and 10 o'clock the next morning. Yeah. You're going to help him out? You're going to help him out next time? I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, stand up. Come over here. Who are you?
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Jim Harrison with the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office. I am your liaison for Ross Township. Fortunately, I was planning on coming to the January meeting, but the Richland had changed their time because I also have Richland and Ross that I do. And Richland decided to keep me there for 4.5 hours, so I missed the January meeting. So I decided to make up and come this month so I could say hi to everybody. I submit the monthly stats from the Sheriff's Office. Obviously, we supplement Chief Brown, who we hold near and dear and love, when he is not here to assist and facilitate with calls based on the availability between Richland Police Department and ourselves. I'm your liaison. I'll leave you my business cards because a couple of you are new since the last time I had stopped last year. And if you have any questions or feedback, you can get a hold of me. It's a little challenging right now because I am currently in the middle of our Police School of Staff and Command, which is a virtual class that takes about 3 days a week. And obviously, I'm way past my college age, so I'm only working in the office about 2 to 3 days a week. So here's another one.
Thank you, sir.
Not that obvious.
And you have an outstanding response time. When I emailed you, oh my gosh, please help me. You did, so thank you.
Oh, no problem. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. What?
We all wondered who it was. So you told
Oh,
me
I'm
we should
sorry,
know, and
I know.
Somebody's got to come up and say we don't know.
Sorry, guys. All right, moving forward.
I have no
Oh.
fire board report because our meeting was, we didn't have one.
You didn't have a fire board meeting?
Didn't
Okay,
have any business, so we'll see what April brings.
okay, April. I did take a meeting with the MDOT and the Kalamazoo County Road Commission. We did discuss the statistics for the enormous level of accidents that are right there on G Avenue and M96. The individuals from MDOT were extremely helpful. They've got a ton of information at their grasp, and they listened to my concerns. They listened to the road commission's concerns and challenges that they have, and for our concerns because our fire department runs continually there. They looked at a short-term project, which would be removing fixed objects, which are trees and signs, which are people that don't negotiate that curve safely and they smash into those chevron signs or they hit trees. They will be working on removing trees, which kills my soul a little bit, but they're going to try and improve the line of sight, so individuals approaching the hill see that there's a road that is a hill and a curve and a decline, and then the long-term view will be working with MDOT and potentially putting in rumble strips across the lane and on the side of the shoulder of the road, as well as additional signage. And so what they're going to do is kind of like a good, better, best analysis and approach. Basically, we did have the sheriff's office there, and he did a slick presentation on the number of crashes that he sees, and 9 times out of 10, it's people not laying off the gas when they hit that curve. We can only do so much from an MDOT and a road commission perspective, signage, bells, whistles, blinkers, all that stuff. Ultimately, individuals just need to slow the heck down. And so I feel really good. I feel like we've got a good partnership with the sheriff's office, with the Kalamazoo County Road Commission and MDOT. We shared information. I don't have the information yet. When it does, I will be sharing it with the board, and we are going to have another meeting. And when that happens, hopefully, Jim can get the chief there so the chief can talk at the next meeting. So that information will be forthcoming, but I was very optimistic after that meeting. So that's my committee report.
Can I, curiosity's sake, I drive through there every day to work, and they just redid that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Improved it. Has anything improved from the crash aspects?
So what we were told was that it's kind of like the same. So the next step, so there was, it was a mess and they improved it and it's still a mess. I encouraged MDOT to go out here to M89 at West Point and look at how this transitions from M89, right, in Calhoun County into Ross Township. They hadn't seen that. When I suggested it, they pulled it up on GIS and they were looking at that, and they assured me they were going to come through and look at that. The problem with straightening out that G Avenue is because the northeast corner runs over water, and so that's going to be a protected watershed area. But they didn't say no, but they are still crunching the numbers and they're still looking at the information. They did have one fatality. I thought there were more fatalities there. The sheriff's office did say there was a fatality in either 2016 or 2018. My understanding was we had a lot, but that wasn't the case, so I felt a little bit better about that. But
Didn't they take the rumble strips out, though, that were in there?
they did take the rumble strips out because the plow trucks tear them up. So it's kind of like you lay it down and then you just dig it up in the fall, and that's obviously, not a good financial investment. So they hear us, they understand our worry, and our residents are going way too fast there. And police chief, now that the weather is dry, he is going to put our speed wagons out there and make our speed wagons super obnoxious, because you can put the lights and the scare people that they're going too fast on the approach. But I was told by a lot of people MDOT wasn't going to help us, but they really were very receptive, and so I'm optimistic at our next meeting that we'll be able to do something different. So stay tuned. Changes are coming. Good, better, best. Anything else? Okay. Moving forward to, I'm going to have Attorney Thal give us an update on the Sherman Lake Sewer Connections and the Ross Augusta IGA.
At this time, I don't have any update on the two, just status quo right now, still pursuing those who remain to connect, and then waiting to hear back on the fire department IGA that was submitted to the village.
Thank you. Moving into new business, the updated budget resolutions for 2024 and 2025. I did, when I updated the agenda, I did clip the new updated resolutions to the new updated agenda, so you'll find those before you. And those are all roll call vote, and I will transition this over to the clerk at this time.
Sorry. So first up is our fiscal year resolution, which is in your packet. It tells what will be our estimated revenues for both the township as well as the fire department, and our estimated total of expenditures for both. I would be seeking a motion to accept that.
I'll support.
This will be a roll call vote. Supervisor Hutchings.
Aye.
Clerk Stage, aye. Treasurer Wiersma.
Aye.
Trustee Langshaw.
Aye.
Trustee Beeks. Trustee Harmon is absent. Trustee White. Motion carries.
Thank you. I'll make the motion for the salary resolution for the township clerk. That the township clerk will be, the fourth paragraph down. Whereas the township board finds a salary of $53,333.76 does not adequately compensate the office of the clerk for the level of responsibility required, including the number of meetings attended and necessary appointments and duties of the township hall. We will be moving salary to $56,045 annually, effective April 1, 2025. I make that motion.
Second.
Vote. Supervisor Hutchings.
Aye.
Clerk Stage, aye. Treasurer Wiersma.
Aye.
Trustee Langshaw. Trustee Beeks.
Aye.
Trustee Harmon is absent. Trustee White.
Nay.
The next resolution that I'd be looking for someone to motion is the supervisor's salary.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Supervisor's salary will be the same as the clerk's salary.
Roll call vote. Trustee Harmon. Oh, sorry, she's not here. Trustee Langshaw.
Aye.
Trustee Beeks.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Nay.
Treasurer Wiersma.
Aye.
Supervisor Hutchings.
Aye.
Clerk Stage, aye. The next item that I'd be looking for a motion is the salary for the treasurer.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support. The treasurer's salary will match the supervisor and the clerk's salary.
Supervisor Hutchings.
Aye.
Trustee Langshaw.
Aye.
Treasurer Wiersma.
Nay.
Clerk Stage, aye. Trustee Beeks.
Aye.
Harmon is absent. Trustee White.
Nay.
Last item I have on the list here is a resolution to adopt our board meeting schedule.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Supervisor Hutchings.
Aye.
Trustee Langshaw.
Aye.
Trustee Beeks.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Harmon is absent. Treasurer Wiersma.
Aye.
Clerk Stage. Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving into Planning Commission, I'm going to turn. Yes, I will. Yes. Moving into Planning Commission advice, I'll be turning the mic over to Attorney Thaw.
All right, so this issue stems from a matter we had that proceeded to the ZBA, I believe in December. And the situation began with a deck that was built into the waterway setback, lakeside setback. So there's certain limitations in the ordinance as to what you can build and where you can build into the lakeside setback. And essentially, a structure, which is something raised off the ground, cannot be built into the setback. You can have a patio, which is ground level, that is okay to be in the setback, but not a structure. So what happened is a property owner built a deck into the setback. They were sent an enforcement letter from AGS regarding that, and which then they engaged in discussion with AGS once they had this deck built. It's in violation. What can they do? Do they got to tear it out? What can they do? AGS, our zoning administrator, had a longstanding opinion that they had relied on for a number of years that said basically basically landscaping is not a structure. And so what you could do is you can alter the grade level by use of dirt or rocks and put something that is above ground at ground level using landscaping structures. And so that's what then this person did with their deck. They basically had engineered rocks and dirt and some grass and built up the sides of the deck so that it was basically all covered. And then the argument was then it would be a patio because it's at grade level, which was an altered grade level. And so the neighbor took issue with that, and the matter was brought to the ZBA, and the ZBA had a hearing on it and determined that we should not be following the prior opinion of AGS, even though that has been our opinion for a number of years. Zoning Board of Appeals felt that you cannot take a structure and just alter the grade by landscaping and then say now it's at grade level or a patio, so to speak. So it's kind of looking at what's a patio, what's a deck, what's natural grade, and different things in our ordinance. And, there are some issues in our ordinance that maybe it doesn't well address altering natural grade. And so if somebody takes something like that, or they want to build up their property and then put in something at ground level once they've built up the property, would that be a patio and they can just do that maybe all the way up to the lake? Or is it, once you're altering natural grade, to cover a structure, is it still a structure? Is it still a deck? Is it still above ground? And can't be put into the setback area. And so the ZBA overruled that prior opinion of the zoning administrator, but they also said that it was fine that they relied on the prior opinion because that was the opinion of the township until the ZBA said, no, we don't think you can use landscaping to just raise the grade and no longer call it a structure. So it changed how we look at things moving forward, not necessarily what has been approved under that prior ruling. So the ZBA also said that they would like the Planning Commission to look at that issue of, what's a deck, what's a patio, what's natural grade, it's very difficult to deal with that issue because obviously somebody could abuse the issue of increasing grade and put something much higher up and say, okay, now, that's new grade level. And, so there could be abuses of that if you say that you can alter natural grade. In a lot of projects, the developers will tell you that they have to do some grade changes, when they're constructing a house, a deck, patio, whatever they're doing. They, a lot of times they do have to alter the grade. So what the ZBA wanted the Planning Commission to do some more study on that and make some suggested revisions or suggestions just regarding the ordinance with regard to decks, patios, and altering the grade. And the Planning Commission is fine doing that, but they need direction from the board rather than from the ZBA. So the ZBA is asking them to do that, but really it's a request to the board. Do you think that that's a topic that they should be engaged in looking at? We don't want it, the Planning Commission doesn't want to engage in a topic that the board has no interest in if they bring back a recommendation to the board.
Yeah, and as the board liaison, I was part of the ZBA as well, and we had lawyers involved in that study, and there's been pictures, I believe, of 26 different patios that were built around Gull Lake that kind of fit the description that Bert had as far as an opinion, right? But this one was, we said, no, it really can't be. Because like Rob said, if you could just bring in 6 feet of dirt and then build a patio. You can't do it. But at the same time, grades go from the house to the lake. You're going to have to change if you want to put in a level patio, right? So something's going to have to change. So what we're trying to do is articulate the ordinance so that it becomes clear for Bert, because there's going to be some that just make sense that, yeah, they fit, they're, it's ground level, it's patio, but then at what point does it not make sense and it has to be treated as a structure? Because right now it's just one interpretation. Bert, I think the number of years is like 17, right? Wasn't he?
It was a long time.
Yeah, 17 years he's been using that interpretation around the lake. And because we said, no, it really doesn't fit in all categories, we just felt that the ordinance needed to be addressed, and we knew that that direction had to come to the board. So I would definitely support board. I mean, again, the board has given the Planning Commission many assignments over the years, right? And so we just wanted to bring this forward as an assignment that I think it's probably worth asking the.
I think it's smart. And is the Planning Commission okay with us directing this work? They won't be upset or
No, because you've given
embrace
it the
the
priorities
request.
before.
Okay.
We normally fit this kind of work when we have time within the 2 hours.
And this will be a priority.
I don't think at this moment we would need a special meeting for it.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a regular meeting agenda item until they deal with it. I don't think, unless the board wants them to do something else, I don't think they're going to be scheduling special meetings to deal with this subject
Okay.
matter. It would just be part of their normal workload.
Okay.
I motion that we have the Planning Commission review this ordinance of grade level for the township.
Decks, patios, and altering grade.
Right.
Yeah, and just allow Bert have great material for what he makes great decisions on going forward. No,
Yeah, he obviously needs
I'll
clarification.
support.
Okay, we have a motion and support to direct the Planning Commission to provide an interpretation, further direction on decks, patios, and altering grades. Is there any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving into ambulance services, January 23rd of this year, I did send out Rob Thal's email regarding the Kalamazoo County intergovernmental ambulance agreement. I did recommend that individuals reach back out to Rob with any questions. I continue to attend county supervisor meetings, and there is a great collaboration and a comfort level with Life EMS. They share stats, they've got mutual aid, there's a lot of townships that have very many success stories, and it just seems like it's something that we should be a part of. It is notable, and I think he did say it, that Ross Township is the only township that's not a part of that. What I like about the fact that we're not a part of it is that they still serve us. They are still here, they're still present, they're still out doing what needs to be done in Ross Township. And so I would like this board to talk about being able to join the rest of our constituents, being able to take advantage of these outstanding call times and the outstanding outcomes that happen when you've got hospital professionals receiving receiving those critical in the field. And like I said, it's a huge group effort. And so it's not to knock our current life care partnership, but I would like to move forward and ask that this board considers moving our ambulance agreement over to Life EMS. One of the things that I think was concerning for me is when I was talking with our first responders, because I love to be here and they go out and they come in and we have conversations with them. Their current relationship with Life Care is their equipment is not the same, and that's the reason why I brought that up. So when they are the first responders out in the field and they're using, I'm not going to speak it, but I know we've got a nurse here. They're using the paddles, they're using the breathing apparatus, and they deplete the stores that they have in our medical trucks. We don't get resupplied from Life Care ambulance. Their equipment supplies don't match what Kalamazoo County has. And to me, that spoke volumes when I heard that from our fire team. And that made the decision for me. We've got to be able to have our fire team out there and resupplied by the ambulance partnership that's out there, not coming back in with empty trucks and then they've got to go to Richland to restock or buy it. That's huge, huge to me, and it's huge to our residents, I think. So I'm going to shut up and let the board talk.
So if we went with that decision, tell me, is our cost going to change?
So Rob can talk about the agreement in greater detail because Richland just joined and he will understand it.
You need to speak into your microphone.
Okay.
Move forward.
Sorry you asked.
No, so I'm just curious, have we budgeted, for instance, like the budget we just went through, that it looks all pretty good, or are we going to need to make an amendment later if we went this way because we have an extra $60,000 or so that's going to go into the endeavor?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what the cost is.
I'll have to look at that.
So, I mean, it's something that we can bring back to the board, what that cost is. And, so we would have to basically ask permission to join the group. So they, like they said, they bid out this long-term contract with all the municipal entities went in together as a group. And so there's a intergovernmental agreement to contract with them and to fall under that contract. So basically, we'd have to be let into that agreement. So if that's the course that we want to go, we'd have to ask them to become part of that agreement, part of that group. And then we'd need to notify our current provider timely so that we don't have a renewal of that agreement, which I think is this summer, June 1st, maybe.
So the idea then would be not have the two partners working together, it would just be the one, correct?
That would be normally what you'd have, and then
Right.
they might have mutual, I don't know what kind of mutual aid.
Right.
But they may have mutual aid with them to respond, if.
And then our spots that are currently being used in the building for ambulance care, unless they want to put a station here, would be vacant then? Okay.
Correct.
I mean, that's what I was trying to ask, because
Yeah.
we talk about where do we have additional room in our place. This would be another benefit of that. All right, well, I'd just like to go on record saying if we can get an idea what the cost comparison would be. I mean, if it is close, obviously the performance is still going to be there. And the fact that, 60 or 70% of our people that are having heart attacks have a pretty good chance of living, I mean, that is a pretty good stat. I don't know what it is with, our current provider. But is that something that we have time to do the request to join if we come back at our April meeting and say that here's the cost and we're comfortable with it and they're going to allow us to come in, et cetera. And
Yeah, that shouldn't be, I would think that's not a problem. The only, I just need to check our current contract just to make sure. I think it's June 1st, but I just have to check to see if there's a 30-day notice,
Right, right.
if there's a notice period. But
Okay.
we can, no, we don't have a new one with them. It's the old, yeah, we never signed off on a new agreement with them. It was, we had one put in front of us, but we still have the old agreement, which we're operating under.
So when I gather that information, I will email the board again and have put this information in front of everybody.
Right. And then when we're ready, if it looks good, I mean, and it fits in our budget and we can have the service level agreement, how fast they can start over or, turn it around, I think it's probably a wise thing to do as long as those numbers line up.
Do we know the percentage of calls that are responded to by Life in our township, Life Care?
So I did ask that question of Jake. Jake says that they can drill down and get that information. I know that Kalamazoo County Consolidated Dispatch has I say the word splash. Maybe this is something for Mr. Harrison to help us on. The way dispatch works is they call it out and they call everything out. So Sheriff's Department gets called, we get called, or not we, the fire department gets called, everybody gets called. Our fire department hands down is first on the scene. I know that there have been times that Life Care didn't make it and Life did. And I don't know why, and it doesn't matter why, because obviously they're probably helping somebody else at the
Right.
time. The long answer to your question is I know it exists, but I don't know what it is. Do you?
I'm just curious because Life Care, is Calhoun County predominantly. So
Yep.
if they're parking up in Calhoun County, they're not here all day, then it makes no difference because they're not here
Right.
by that service to township residents. So if they're coming from, 13 miles or 13 minutes away, just like Life is, then I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to.
Right, right. And I think that was, I have had some complaints, and I think that was what the complaint was how come Life Care is right up there at Ross Township and I've got Life in my driveway? And I can't answer that. There's
And
no
because
way for me to
they're
answer
not
it. I
here.
just,
I mean,
right,
we're here.
right. They're not here.
Okay.
Right. So I know you can answer that. Could you, sir? Could you step up to the microphone? Does it exist, though?
I should be able to pull some data. The question I have is going to be what timeframes are you looking for? Like, are we looking for 2024 specifically, or?
How far back would we like him to pull the reports?
I say 12 months is reasonable.
So
like
1
a
year,
12
so
months.
pull out 2024 and
Yeah.
currently for 25?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
I will get diligently working on that for you the next day.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Another
Good
key-
questions.
Another key factor to consider is you said the supply reimbursements. Who could get you those? I mean, would that be something Doug could get us of what he thinks that value is? Just to do.
Doug, can you go to the
apples?
microphone? Can you go, Doug, can you go to the microphone?
Okay.
Perfect. Because he would know, because he's in charge of restocking all of his supplies. Is Doug going to stand up and talk? Oh, you don't need
citizen
second
comment.
citizen comment because you're the chief.
Then you can leave.
Lead us off. You're the chief.
Okay, so before we decide to do anything, I think that since how our Life Care administration has changed, since how Steve Frisbee the last year and a half has been campaigning for his Senate spot that he got. So as far, I think that we need to, before we decide to do anything, is to talk to the new, I don't have his name right now, Brian, I think, from Life Care, that is taking Frisbee's spot. His main position is over in Ann Arbor or
He was here at one of the meetings you missed.
Okay, I didn't know he
Or
was here.
they-
I
yeah.
hadn't heard that, so I.
He's already been here.
They've been here.
So, and, which I didn't know that, so I know that he talked about, I was gonna try to make it here for that, so, I can tell you right now that Life Care runs quite a few calls in Richland for Life. Life runs calls for Life Care out here, so it goes both ways.
Good.
So response times, talking with Jake, that, I mean, I've heard, and I've been here for 50 years. I worked on the ambulance when it was Gull Lake Ambulance and it was volunteer. Then Life Care took it over. I like working with the same people. Unfortunately, with that group is they only work 12-hour shifts. So I might not see the same medic for 2 months.
You're talking Life EMS?
Right.
So who
Where
do you work with from here that's the
I see
same?
Mitch, he's here 3 days a week,
Okay. How long
and-
has Mitch been here?
about 20 years.
So who's the one they used to come in and talk to us all the time. Who was the,
I don't know if Vince did.
Vince,
yeah.
okay.
So he's left. He works at the hospital now.
okay.
So as you well know, I don't like frickin' change. So I like working with the same.
I feel
people,
it.
same
I feel
people.
it.
I like working with the same people all the time, and that's the only problem that I see with that. And right now that they are still, there's a couple days a week. I don't know what they brought up for the days that they aren't here. I know like a lot of times on the weekends, there's nobody running the crew out of here. So
There's nobody here on Friday either.
So that's something, I don't know if that was brought up by Brian, I think his name is. So, and I know that they're, just like Life, they're trying to always hire new people. But.
I like the mutual
So I
aid
guess
because that's important.
Well, right, and that's the thing. I mean, and it depends on some people. I mean, it depends on where they're at.
Yep.
I mean, but there are times when our ambulance has been sitting here and the dispatch center has not dispatched. So whether they have to go through. A lot of times they have to go through. They call the dispatch center calls the ambulance center then just figure out who they're gonna. And it's not exactly a perfect system yet.
Right.
It's a lot better than it was, but it's still not perfect. So at any rate, that's my opinion on that. As far as reimbursement on most of the stuff, there's a few things that they don't have our new pads for our AEDs. Life does. So that is one expense that otherwise, oxygen bottles, the airways, 99% of the stuff is we just go over and Life Care. So we have very little expenses as far as any equipment.
So would you have accounting of that, things that you've had to buy because they couldn't
It's
reimburse you?
mostly just been the pads for our AEDs. And it's
I thought you had an oxygen bottle issue. It was
That's
one of the
been-
calls I was
That's
told.
been taken care of because our guys didn't know that it already had the regulator built on it. They thought we had to try to swap our regulator to the new tanks. It's already got a regulator built into it.
Okay.
So it's actually a fail-safe system rather than us trying to, the style that we had a little wrench in the bottom of the bag to try to open the air bottle. Right now, all there is a little flapper valve. You open and close it. On the new tanks that they have, there were quite a few different times that we had to try to find pliers and everything else because we couldn't find the wrench in the bottom of the bag.
Okay,
So there's very little expense. There is some. I mean, and Life Care is looking at purchasing the pads that we need for our AEDs. So, but other than that, I mean, all the bandages, all the airways, the nasal, the non-rebreathers, the bag valve masks, the Narcan might be one thing that we're having a little bit of an issue with, which is for the overdoses. I'll have to check on that. So there's been there's a few things, but 99.9% of the stuff we don't purchase. So it's.
That just basically wouldn't be part of your financial review when you come back to us because it would be a wash then, right?
Yeah, and Life does the same. I mean, so if we're on a call and we use some equipment and Life shows up, if they have it on their ambulance, they'll give it to us. I mean, so that they swap things out. I mean, and that's the way Life Care does it too with anybody. So, so as far as really a whole lot of cost, there's really not much that we spend to keep our trucks equipped. So,
Thanks, Chief.
but,
Appreciate you.
okay.
So I've got some homework. Great question. I'll try and get what I can. I'll try and partner and try and get some additional data. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Session then, right after the citizen?
I would say, if I could address the closed session, it was, again, a placeholder. We thought we might need to have a closed session, but we don't have to have one today.
Is that based on the document, Christine, that you gave us in the beginning of the meeting?
Oh, no, that wasn't closed session. That was just an update on
got
what
it.
has transpired with Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority. That's a matter of public record.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Comfortable with that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Am I comfortable with what happened? No.
No, I'm saying with, I'm saying with no closed session.
At this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's canceled.
So,
I have something I'd like to bring up if I can. I spoke to the board at one of our budget meetings about changing, having a recording secretary for the PC and the ZBA, for, having Hannah Lake Snow fill that position. And I'd really like the board to take that under recommendation. I think it saves us money because obviously we're not paying Mr. Beeks his wage. And it also gives Hannah more time, which she has requested of us here at the township. So do I have to make a motion for that or?
Is she willing to get some training? Because I don't, there's a lot to looking at those ordinances and you don't do it just overnight or just by picking the book up.
yeah, I couldn't do it.
Is there training?
She's just going to be recording
Right.
the minutes for the meeting. And if she has questions, I'm sure she would be able to ask the planning commission board for clarification and what they would want to see in the minutes. I mean, she would be able to take the minutes in the meeting with a laptop and be typing at the same time the meeting is going on. And she would have to send the meeting minutes out to the boards to be reviewed anyways. And like I do, and you guys give me what changes you'd like me to do to the minutes.
I know Mary talked to me about this yesterday. I know that in the history we had a planner, and the planner was almost $1,400 a month for the 2 meetings. I started doing it, and it's probably less than 30% of that for the cost. I come into these meetings what I call prepared, and I come into the meetings and I help guide the chair people, make sure they stay on track with the meeting. I've always been kind of told that the meeting minutes for the ZBA and the Planning Commission, they need to be pristine. I believe that I had changes in one set of meeting minutes, and it was one of the ones with the electrical thing. And Rob, you gave a couple of updates that were on there. Other than that is like what do you want to call it, a name I might have misspelled, and that would be about it. I'd like to continue to do it. I think that's been very efficient. I think it's helped the PC and the ZBA in terms of its function and its decisions. And at the same time, if you're looking for just to get Hannah additional hours of pay, I think there could be other areas that you could look for from running the office perspective. I would question that if she became a recording secretary, she would get meeting pay. So that would be an extra meeting pay because she would be eligible to speak up and ask for clarifications, et cetera. It's not just a recording secretary. And so I think that the cost would not, be that much greater because, I get meeting pay obviously, but when I'm doing meetings, I'm not charging those hours as a second time either. Just anytime when I'm not in the meeting and doing it is when I charge. So I,
Had her at her regular salary doing the recording secretary. I don't think we were showing her as getting meeting pay.
and then
You could just pay her hourly, but I mean, it sounds like Trustee Beeks would like to continue to do it. You'd like to possibly, have the recording secretary, have her do it. Probably just make a motion if you have support, discussion, and vote one way or another.
Feel that you would have it be advantageous to you at all, as far as from a focus standpoint, where you didn't have that on your plate? Would it be beneficial to you, or?
Not at all, because the preparedness that I come into with a, with the documents that I prepare, I'm as focused as we go through the meeting as I would be if I didn't. I mean, I guess maybe I'm just a multitasker. I mean, I've been able to do that. And like I say, I mean, the only witness here would be Rob. So I would like to ask your opinion. Do I seem like I am not focused during the meetings at the Planning Commission and ZBA?
No, I don't see any problem with, I think your meeting minutes are good, and I don't see an issue with that. It just comes down to, what the board wants to do.
Focused, I just wondered if maybe you could be of better use if you didn't have that on your plate, but just a question is all.
Okay,
Thank
no, yeah, and I would say no, not at all.
I move we leave it as it is.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion?
I'm going to abstain from the vote.
All those in favor of leaving the arrangement the way it is as of right now, signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Trustee White? You,
I was with the first one.
oh, okay, all right. I wanted to give you an opportunity. I thought you were mulling.
No.
All right, moving forward
Thank
through.
you. And I'm, like I say, I'll continue to do a stellar job for the Ross Township.
Thank you. Moving forward to trustee updates. Does anybody have any trustee updates they'd like to share? My trustee update is I am thankful for the great dialogue. I'm thankful for the great thoughts. I'm thankful for the great back and forth. I'm thankful for individuals that are here at 7:55 p.m. Thank you. And I'm just very grateful. This is a great board, and thank you. Anybody else?
I could just throw out some final numbers since we're moving on the end of our fiscal year. Our online payments, 3.48% of our residents made their payments online, which we just set up this year. So that's 163 residents. So $580,000 of our taxes came from online payments. So we certainly offered a convenience benefit to our residents. So I like that people are using it because a lot of people asked for it. And then I guess our interest from January 23 to 24, interest $40,765 from January 24 when I took office to January 25. We're up 147% at $100,712.74. All right.
That's awesome.
Stellar. Great job.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. That's fantastic.
Are you finding interest rates? Because I know your
They've come down a
your
little
duration
bit.
is
I got some stuff coming
rather
up
short.
in a couple of CDs coming up in May, so we'll see what May looks like. Right now, we're okay.
Still hanging over 3.5%?
Yeah.
Good, excellent, thank you.
That's exciting.
It is.
Anybody else have any updates to share?
The county will be looking for a new early voting contract. We're talking about it next month in our clerk's meeting. to see who will be in and who will be out. So far, there are 2 for sure townships who are leaving the agreement, or 1 was never in. 1 is leaving, and we have 2 on the fence, which means our costs for that program will be going up.
But we didn't
County.
have it here, did we? You went someplace else
This
to
is
help.
the early voting
This
contract.
is early voting contract.
Mary has to work that, and then Hannah has to work that too.
Right, but they go someplace else. They don't really come here, do they?
So, I mean, there's different requirements that are
Okay.
in the contracts that we have to maintain. Like, we have to help test their machine.
Oh, yeah.
We have to, set up the early voting sites, and we also I have to be an early voting site supervisor for at least 1 day, so. But the cost of that will go up because it was split over all the
Over
ships
everybody.
according to your how many residential voters you had. And since people are pulling out, that will increase.
Is that for presidential only, or is that for all?
It's for state and federal elections.
Do we have one coming up in 2025 or not?
No, we may have one in November, but that's not going to be a state or a federal election, so there won't be any early voting. It'll be 1 day of voting.
Okay. So then we'll have time to assess what we do, the agreement, the costs, and put that into next year's budget, and should be fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I want to thank the 3 ladies that really worked on getting our budget put together because it really went a lot smoother, I think.
Yeah, shout out to,
Lynn, because that Excel spreadsheet is gonna serve us like for many years, because it's just a download right
Right.
into it.
But
And tweak it a little bit, so it's really, really nifty.
more gratitude. Yep, fantastic. Anybody else? The agenda is exhausted. I would be seeking a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and support. Oh, citizen comment. And somebody wants to speak. Come on up. Fantastic.
Again, I'm Chris Helmbold. I just have noticed, it seems like just a couple of years ago, but it's been more like 6 or 7, that we redid a lot of the roads in Ross Township. And I just noticed, driving down 38th and 39th Street, some deterioration. I don't know if it's just the seal coat that's been washed off with the snow plows or what, but I just wonder, I'm hoping that's being addressed. If there's any kind of warranty or anything on the roads, I just hope that's being addressed.
Can you call me tomorrow?
Sure.
731-4888, and we can talk about it. I have the contracts that we agreed to put dollars into for certain roads in Ross Township, and it's always the ones that have the most taxpayers living on them. But I do know that 37th Street is a no-go this year. The road commission just does not have the money in the budget. We do have some other roads that are critical infrastructure to us in Ross Township. They just don't have the money. They're waiting for the money to come down from the state to be able to go to the road commission so that they can spend dollars here in our township. But I do have the list. It is not with me, and I can tell you what those are.
Okay.
If you want to give me a call tomorrow, we can talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
We divide it up too. We don't do them all in 1 year.
Right. We can't afford that.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and support to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Nobody's saying no. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Show me how
for coming.